Well, I'm very pleased to say that Dennis Morris joins me now. Dennis, it's an absolutely fascinating collection.
Thank you for inviting
John
me.
Lydon, he's got a completely different image in public image, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's, really what we did really is to create this persona which was not there because he wanted to bury the image of the Sex Pistols. So it was created by as I was working with Rolls Royce, who had that massive hit, Car Wash.
I remember that well.
Great. And they had this massive wardrobe makeup scenario. So I asked the makeup artist if she would be interested in working with me on doing a shoot for the album. She said yes. And so then we create this new persona, which is the public image.
Now, I understand that your work with John Lydon and public image came about because he'd heard of your work with Bob Marley, is that right? That's
right, yeah, because at a very young age, I actually started working with Bob. In fact, I went off on the road with Bob when I was like my last year at school. And then through that, when punk had started, John had seen some of those early shots. And then he was a great lover of reggae music, so he invited me to work with the band, with the Sex Pistols. It started from there. Fantastic.
Some of the stories you must have. Is this one of your favourite images?
This is one of the first shots I took of the band as a lineup. It was taken on the roof of John's apartment in London, in Gunter Grove. And it's a very, very unique shot. And as you said, I think they look at something like out of Coronation Street or EastEnders.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, this ended up being a brand, and your image within it is obviously the strong part of what you see. Was that the intention, that you'd have this brand that was to go forward, and now you obviously have an...
Well, John really wanted to kill the whole idea of a band being a band, and for a band to be more like a company. So hence the name Public Image Limited. But when he came up with the name Public Image Limited, he told me, I was very much into abbreviations. So I said to him, why don't we just break it down to PIL? And he liked the idea. And then I came up with the concept of the logo, which is based on an aspirin. So that was how the whole thing came together.
One of the covers that's most famous for you, the metal box, can you just tell us how that came about?
That was so influential, but at the same time so simple. Basically, again, John and I were sitting down discussing the music, and he said the second album, which he was working on, he wanted to call it Metal Box. And as he said it, I remembered that across the road from my secondary school, there was a factory called the Metal Box Factory, and I never knew what they did. So I decided to go down there, check them out, and it turned out they made film canisters, and which was the exact same size as a vinyl. So I asked them how much would it cost to buy 10,000. They gave me a price, and what it would cost to emboss the logo on the cover, and they gave me a price. And then went to see Virgin and told them, they said, oh, out of the question. When I told them the price, they said, oh, okay, sounds good. And that's how I was born. You
did your research, but people say that you make your own look. I think that's an example. Yeah. Would you say there's been quite a lot of chance in your career?
Yeah, a lot of chance, but at the same time, it's a matter of wanting. And if you want to do something, and I really wanted to be a photographer. So for my first meeting with Bob Marley, when I met him, as I said, my last year at school, I didn't go to school that day, went down to this place called the Speakeasy Club, waited and waited, he turned up. I asked if I could take his photograph, he said yeah. Told me to come into the club. One thing led to another, it started from there, built up a friendship, and then ended up being his photographer.
And going on to work with some of the artists, the other ones that I mentioned, Oasis, was that within your sights at that time? Did you think you'd stay in that career?
Well, again, Oasis, really, what happened there was they had known my work with the Pistols, and of course they were like the new sort of bad boys of rock. So they invited me to work with them. So I actually did a tour of them in Japan, which was amazing.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us today, Dennis Morris. That's it for now. We'll be back with much more soon. But for now, goodbye.